How's it going, guys, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Build. In this episode, we are going to be in the high seas map, and we are going to be building ourselves a sailboat. Let's try and build a sailboat. Well, not try and build a sailboat. I'm going to show you how to build a simple sailboat, and then maybe we'll try and build something a little more complex. So we're just going to start with the simplest kind of sailboat that we can come up with. So we're going to take a little platform like this, and we're going to take some big floaty floaties. Maybe we don't even need big ones. Maybe we'll go medium ones. Come along like this. We want to keep these kind of high. Keep our center of gravity low in the water. Just put a little seat on there. We'll just go with a simple go-kart seat. Lock this. Keep it near the back because we need some weight on the back. We'll put a simple servo right here. And then we're going to set those controls for turning D and A as they are already set, and we definitely want to slow that down to like 0.1 angle. Let's go with like 80 degrees, and we want to hold position on that as well. So we want to put a single square sail. Let's even go with a small sail, and we want this to be centered on our mast. Now, of course, these are not symmetrical, so we'll go with the big one, which is symmetrical. So we'll rotate this and spin it around so that the frame is on the bottom. Now there's no connection points here in the middle of our sail, as we all know, so we'll put a small beam across the bottom with some blocks here. Block this, and then we can even go with a couple of our 4x1 sloped for a wee bit of aesthetics. Block that. And now with something like this, we might even want to put a floaty on the front. Hopefully that shouldn't interfere with our rotation. And then let's build that. So there we go. That's about as simple a sailboat as you can get. Now, it is going to drift somewhat because we don't have a keel or any kind of vertical stabilization. We've got nothing guiding us, but as you can see, even just slight changes in the angle of the sail, and away we go. Now the reason why you want to keep your weight in the back again is because the sail is pushing forward from the top, and it wants to push the front end down into the water, so we want to keep our weight at the back. Probably even move this back all the way for a wee bit faster. Keep the front end out the water like that. So that's about as simple a sailboat as you need if you just want to sail around simply. So now the next advanced part to any kind of sailboat would be a keel or a rudder. So let's put a keel on here just for the sake of having a keel. So we'll go with something that's single that we can center on 2 points. There's a very few parts that allow you to do that. So we'll keep this near the back as well. And we'll put that, drop that down, and then we'll put some large fins on the bottom here as well, just for extra. And if you want, wise, in between two things like this is where you want to drop a weight. So let's throw a 30 kilo weight in there. Hopefully our flotation devices here will be enough to keep us above the water, and we might even extend the body of this out a wee bit. Lock this. Maybe a second one out the back, and we now have got enough room for 2 more of these, like that. So now let's see if that floats. It does. We're not flipping over forwards, but now when we angle our sail in one direction, it'll keep us going straight in that direction because of the keel. But also, this is what allows you to tack into the wind because the keel does not move, so it's going to want to keep the body of the boat going straight in the direction that the keel's going in. But your sail can grab the wind from different angles because we can rotate it, right? So right now we have nothing to counter the torque on the sail, but we definitely can go nice and straight. So let's see if we try and sail somewhat into the wind, perpendicular to the wind, top these sails here. Again, not a speed machine by any means. We can grab a wee bit of the wind, pull us along like this. Able to crest those waves, so that's not too bad. So now if you want better control and a bit more speed for going against the wind or perpendicular to the wind, we want to add, not a great place to build because these waves are just going to keep getting in the way, we want to add a rudder. Now, again, lots of different ways to build a rudder. I'm going to use a large steering hinge on the back. And we want to set that to green being A and that being D. And we want to turn the speed down on that for sure to 0.1. And we also want that to hold position and 30 degrees. We want to crank that right up to 60. And this is where your call, if you want to use like wings or vertical stabilizing fins like these here, the simple tail fin, the large one. If you want to use those in the water, they work. But I find that it doesn't have enough surface area to counter the torque if you're sailing against the wind. So we want to use something a bit bigger. So this is where we're going to use our sails again, and they're going to be underwater. So we don't need to really worry too much about the wind interacting with them and pushing us around places we don't want to go. Bonkers is being a pain as normal. Alright, so now we have this angled back. That should give us lots of counter torque to our single small sail. And let's build that in, and that gives us a little bit more weight in the back as well. But as you can see, we are listing forward. That's not necessarily a good thing. So we can turn our sail, and we probably want to set, let's just do that while we're thinking about it. We want to set this on a different control. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave these on the A and D, and I'm going to set my sail to Q and E. So now I can set those two at different settings. So I can use A and D to set my rudder to be steering into the wind, and I can turn my sails to catch the wind. Now this is where the width of your vehicle comes in. So I'm going to shallow those sails, turn into the wind a wee bit more. And again, just little taps as you start to turn, straighten your sail. You don't want the sail too much against the wind, or it's just going to flip you over. So just small movements like this. So let's give our rudder kind of turn more into the wind here, straighten it out a little bit. We may need a little bit more weight on the back. But you can see now how with the rudder and the keel, this is going to keep us going straight or in the direction that the keel or the rudder is actually pointing us in. The sail is just going to grab energy from whatever direction. If we can get it to face into the wind a bit, it's going to grab us and pull us along. So let's try going into the wind and see what kind of speed we can get. Again, the front end's being pushed down into the water quite a bit, so I wouldn't be surprised if it doesn't go that fast. Let's try doing this. We'll drop it down and out two, and we'll put a second one in front. Not really worried about aerodynamics at this point. I just want to try and keep the front end as much out of the water as possible. So 30 kilometers an hour, barely moving. We can keel. We'll go with the wind like this. Turn our sail a wee bit into the wind and try not to flip over. So this is where if your boat was a little wider, it would be better. So it doesn't flip over. That's why you always see them sailboats when they're catching the wind, moving at their fastest. There's usually, it's like at a 45-degree angle. People leaning over the side on the far side trying to keep it from flipping over. So that's basically what you're doing here by having a counter direction with your sail than what your keel and your rudder are doing. So let's try and turn in. So that's actually a really simple, fairly simple boat. We can upgrade that. Let's go back to the harbor. We can upgrade this simple design simply by adding large pontoons or more weight to the body. So let's rotate these out. Bang. Lock this. And lock that. We'll bring one more of these out. Copy these out. Now again, just like with aerodynamics in the vehicles, allowing you to go faster, the less of your ship is in the water, the faster you're going to go. Least resistance, right? It's way easier to push through the air than it is to push through the water. So once you have a nice little sailboat like this, and any large fin that's sticking out, like see, you want to see what would happen if I tried to have this keel sticking out of the water? Because there's more surface area here than this one single sail, watch, I bet you will just flip right backwards. Oh, it wants to. See how it's trying to turn me? but there's a chunk of it in the water, so it can't. But yeah, anything, any sail sticking out of the front, it's going to consider the front, wherever the most sail area is. So you want to remember to try and keep your sails more to the front of your vehicle, to the vessel. And then you're going to have that downwards push. So even if we move it a couple like this forward, and we'll flip this back over so it's not trying to turn us around backwards. Back in the water with you. Build. Right, let's rotate that sail around. Use that bit of a keel here. Turn. Like this. Smooth sailing. So the sail doesn't necessarily steer you, but the sail just determines how much power you're getting from the wind, how you're turning it like this, and then you just angle your keel slightly to counter. Okay, that's where you have outriggers normally, to counter what the wind is pulling. That's it. But another technique to keep your boat, your sailboat, up out of the water would be to put some hydrofoils on it. And yes, I know we're not going really fast enough to use a hydrofoil, but we're going to grab a slope piece, like this one, 4x1. We're going to rotate it around, flip it over like this. Kind of keep it out in the front. We'll grab another single 2x4 like that to keep that nice and aerodynamic on the front. We'll grab a couple small hinges. Rotate these so that our green is facing down. Put one on that side, one on this side. I'm going to select these two hinges and we're going to set these down to an angle of, let's say, 15. And the speed is going to be 0.1. And we want that to be on, let's say, number 1. And we'll toggle that so they pop down and stay down. And we can hit number 1 to close them up again. And then we'll just put a large paddle fin on the bottom, like that. So let's drop that into the water. We got a little bit more weight in the front, but we'll try and catch some wind here. And we'll hit number 1. That fin should come down at a bit of an angle, 15 degrees. And now it's up to us to catch the wind, gain enough speed for that fin to lift the front end out of the water. We'll go, we'll use the sails, we'll turn our rudder a wee bit. We might not have enough sail area in the front here to actually pull us fast enough for that to give us any lift. Let's see if these waves can give us a little bit more speed. Maybe we'll turn into the wind this way. Let's see if we can use the wave. We use the wave to try and get some speed, lift that front end out of the air. Nope. Out of the water, I should say. There we go. This one. Is this the wave? Is this the wave? Go, go, go. Nope, that's not happening. So, we need a bigger sail, I think, and maybe a little bit more weight in the back. Really? You have an opinion on this too, do you, Bunkers? Yeah? Something tells me you haven't done a lot of sailing, cat. So, let's try this. Let's go mega wide with the sails. Mega wide. And another thing I figured out, I'll show you here, we'll put some steering hinges in here. Some small ones. Watch this. And that should work like that. So now we're going to build that in. Good chance that the front end will just pull us right down into the water unless we have enough flotation. No, which we seem to do. So we can turn a wee bit like this. I'm going to angle our sail. I don't think we'll need to angle it very much. Try and use our rudder here to... Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We got a sail in the water. It's dragging us down, Captain. Okay, we don't want to crank the keel that much. Okay, let's try and rotate our sail out of the water here. There we go. Come on. Okay, how about we hit number 1 and get our fin down there to pop out. Let's get that sail out of the water. Come on. There we go. Oh, oh, loggage, loggage, loggage. Turn. Nice. Good steering. Okay, so let's try and build up some speed here. We're up to 30k now, so we've got a little bit more speed. That's not helping us as far as lifting the front end out. So we'll go there, and then we'll turn this 35. Is that fast enough? It's still not lifting the front end out. So we'll turn that, we'll counter with that. Still not picking up enough speed. It looks like I said, we need a little bit more weight on the back end. So we're going to put a wee bit more weight on the back end. So maybe a 30 kilo weight behind the seat. And we'll move the seat ahead just one. Just get away that steering hinge. So now that should be a lot better as far as leaning back. Okay, we'll hit number 1 to pop our fin out. That does lift the front a wee bit like that. That's good. So now check this out. So number 2 pushes the sails forward. And that actually, believe it or not, works better than having them curl back. You'd think like a cup shape would catch more wind. That's not the case. So let's rotate this a little bit more into the wind. We're at 42 kilometers an hour. See, it'd be nice to be able to keep the tips of those sails out. So why don't we try, instead of going out wide like that, let's go upwards. So we'll rotate these like this. Now we'll only be able to use one of our hinges down here. Get rid of this one. Okay, let's try that. Now we're a little higher, so there's going to be a little more down force on the front. So let's try rotating. Let's pop our fin out of the bottom. Rotate our sail, catch the wind. There's not a lot of wind in this area. Let's go back to the harbor and try back from here. As you can see, when we get into this area here, there's actually not a lot of wind. It's pretty slow. So as low as this wind area is, at least it's consistent. Okay, so we'll use our steering out this way a bit. Okay, so we'll use our rudder to steer us over this way, turn our sails a bit, pop out our fin on the bottom. Wow, we're getting a lot of down push there, so we might need even more weight. You know what? I'm going to stick that weight right on the very back of our fins here. Turn it this way, and hopefully that'll give us enough weight in the back. So we'll push our fin out of the bottom. No liftage. Okay, that's all right. Decent speed though, doing 30 clicks. Turn this a bit, turn that a bit. We probably could be a bit wider. Still not enough to lift us out of the water, but that might be because we don't have enough actual paddle lift force. So see if I turn the sails like this. We try and catch some more wind, 31, 32. So if we curl the sails back, you'd think that would catch the wind and work better. And it does somewhat. See, like it seems like it works well here. That's because our rudder has more force than the surface area of those sails. So let's pop out the fin on the bottom with number 1. See if that gives us any lift at all. Doesn't seem to. Let's try making a wee bit more surface area for it to grab down here. So let's grab, what if we go something like this? Again, not really worried about aerodynamics, because we're not dealing with high speed to begin with. So we'll move these out like this, and we'll copy another one to the other side. Should be the same controls. Alright, let's check that out. It's going to be a wee bit heavier in the front. Once we hit number 1, should get both of those popping out. A little more surface area. Now let's see if we can catch enough wind. Pick up enough speed to actually lift that front end out of the water. 27, no, we're still getting too much pushback. So maybe another way to fix that would be to move this whole contraption back. Try that. See if we don't get as much. Okay. Pop our fins out. Let's turn into the wind here. Turn our sail a wee bit. Nope, keeps pushing it down. Oh, once we get up around 30, see we're doing like 37. It almost wants to come up It's almost like we need more weight in the back. But you know what? Let's try it. We'll just get rid of the keel and all of this weight down here because our rudder is big enough to act as a keel. So let's see if that helps with the weight. That should get our front end out of the water. So number 1 brings our fins out. Let's see if we can get some speed here. The waves. Turn into it a wee bit. It is lifting the front end a little higher than it was before. But like I said, at this part of the map, there's not a lot of wind, so. Come on, pull it out, pull it out. Do we need bigger sails? Let's try our forward swept sails. See if we can catch enough wind to lift that front end out. It wants to. It really does. It really wants to. But I cannot do it. It's not powerful enough. Yeah, we definitely need a wider body. Definitely, yeah. Wider body, yeah. Those are the basic controls for a sailboat. So if you have more than one mast as well, you want to have your middle mast or your forward mast, everything slightly ahead of your center of gravity. Go back to the port here. Slightly ahead of the center of gravity. And it doesn't really matter how many masts you have, you just need to make sure that you have your steering, or the one that rotates like this. I would have even amount on either side of your mast, or if you have one side that's heavier, like a triangle on a sailboat, that will still be end up facing forward, and then you're tilting it either left or right to catch the wind and push. And again, you're using your rudder and your keel to keep you going in the direction that you actually want to be going in, and turning your sails just to catch the wind in the direction that the wind is going. So that's basically what I figured out with the sails as far as making simple sailboats and trying to get them to hydroplane. But we'll just get rid of that. And let's take a look at a couple of the other things that I builded. So again, here's a not wind powered, but a UFO engine powered floaty boat for in here on the high seas. So we just have 2 small sails that work when you push them into your hover pads. There we go, forward motion. This was just a test design prototype. Underneath you can see the hydrofoils and those 2 rudders in the back that I have in the water so they stay out of the wind. And that's the steering. So you can see here, and that those 2 big wings in the back there actually act as stabilizers, right? So it stays nice and level. And the big floaties on the front so that even when you nosedive, it doesn't go underwater, or if it does, it just shoots right back up again. You see that kind of just floats nice and level. Just uses seat steering for the vertical. It wants to fly directly into the wind all the time, so you're constantly having to steer. You just naturally want to turn into the wind. Again, because of those vertical sails sticking up, even though the UFO engines are pushing me forward. So that was one of the experiments that I was doing to see if those UFO engines would work using the sails. Someone was asking if someone out there could make a sailboat that could hydroplane, just wind powered, nothing else. No UFO engines, no nothing. So check this weird looking thing out. So 4 sloped sails like that, again back to back and one upside down, on 4 servos, and 2 hydroplaning legs here on the front, and there is one on the back here, but as you'll see shortly, when we build that in and we rotate our wings forward like this, that middle one there is actually free floating and faces just rotates into the wind. And then I have a helicopter engine on the back here for steering, just because it don't capture no wind. And then we hit number 1. That will push our hydrofoil fins out, and then we just turn into the wind. And as you can see, the only things touching the water are the hydrofoils. So this is just a matter of balance and getting enough push from the tops of those sails, the height of the sails, that we can actually stay just above the water. Can actually steer a bit by tapping that engine. And there we go, 44 kilometers an hour. Keeps us above the water. Nice and lightweight, nice and simple. You can drop those fins down and go back into the water as well. And I can rotate these forward like this too. And it kind of gets the same effect, but then it gets in the way of my free-floating sail on the front there. So I prefer to have them angled out this way. Bring out the hydrofoils. And away you go. It's actually pretty amazing how you can get something to hydrofoil. Not much to the build, mind you. It doesn't weigh very much. But just on 2 legs like that. I thought that was pretty cool. I have no idea what I'm going to call this or if I'm going to upload this to the shop. But now that I've basically showed you a technique or one way of doing it, now you can build one yourself. Maybe you can build a great big one, right? Lots of sails, lots of high up, and use that forward push of the wind up high on high sails to your advantage, right? Have a long front end with lots of floaties on the front, or lots of fins on the front there for your hydrofoiling. And see if you can get the whole thing to lift out of the air. Once you get it to lift out of the air, then it's a lot quicker. It's a lot. Hey, come on, pull out of there, pull out. Oh no, that didn't happen. Alright guys, I think we're going to leave that one here. That should give you the basics on building yourself a sailboat. Maybe we'll do another one later on, another video on how to build a more complicated boat or a more complicated hydrofoil, sail-powered or otherwise. Let me know. Leave a comment down in the section below. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and we will see you in the next one. Ciao.